Trapped by the belief that I'm not good enough, bound by the limitations and the lies that consumed my world, this was me. It wasn't until I took the biggest leap in my life to know and trust the power within. And it was at that moment I made a choice. My past will not define me anymore. Hello, I am Teri, and I know I am not alone in this. Over the years, I have found that the number one mistake that we make is that we get in the way of our own success story. Yes, I said it. On this show, together we'll tackle limiting beliefs, self-sabotage, getting stuck, fear, doubt, overwhelm, and the imposter syndrome. Join us on this journey designed to transport you beyond your limitations to a world where anything is possible. This is Talking with Teri. Welcome back to Talking with Teri, where we're having powerful conversations to transform your life and your business. And I am super excited for our guest today, Dr. Minette Riordan. Was it close enough?
It was close. It's Minette.
Minette Riordan. Okay.
Perfect.
I'm telling you. Okay. She is a modern day Renaissance woman, transformational artist, writer, award-winning entrepreneur, and advocate for creativity as essential to the well-being of all people on our planet. I can't wait to dive in. She has appeared on TV, radio, and podcasts around the globe. She has built 2 successful businesses and worked with thousands of business owners and published 3 books. Welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me. I'm excited to be here.
I'm excited too. So for those that are just jumping on and just hearing your magnificence today, let's share the backstory for them to catch up to speed here. How did you get to be where you're at today?
Man, it's been a journey, right? Like, when I think about—
That's such a loaded question.
It is such a loaded question.
In 35 seconds, share how you—
35 seconds. So from PhD at Stanford University in Latin American literature to business coach has been a journey of several decades, several businesses along the way. But about 8 years ago, I sold my publishing company. I had a parenting magazine based in the Dallas, Texas area. My family and I moved to Santa Barbara, California, where I'm still so excited to get to live every single day, even 8 years later.
Yay.
And I knew I wanted to be a coach. And I had been selling advertising for 8 years. And I thought, how hard is it going to be? This is kind of my mantra. How hard is it going to be? And
I love it.
Harder than I think. And, so I kind of jumped into coaching. And I realized that the energetics of selling coaching was completely different than it had been selling advertising, because advertising was a product, right? Like it was very tangible, and coaching was this very intimate, personal thing. And I was promising these results for people, and it was such an adventure. And in the process, it took a lot of mindset work, a lot of clarity around who my ideal client was, and a lot of money work, right? A lot of money mindset around really befriending money, making it okay to charge money for my services, and just a lot of really letting go of the outcome, which is where the art comes in. So part of my own practice of becoming an artist. So I am a creative mentor and business strategist for other creatives. I love teaching creatives how to make money. And I think we can all make money, and that there's no such thing as the starving artist myth. We can just debunk that.
Thank you. Yes. Thank you.
I won't get on my soapbox right now. Like selling art, I just put it on Facebook and it sells. It's not that hard. You just have to ask, right? You just have to ask. But as part of my journey to really coming back to self as an artist, and to claiming the word artist, which was a whole nother podcast journey probably, what I recognized was this learning to sit in the process and let go of the outcome. And it had this masterful impact on my thinking and also my energy around selling, that I learned to just settle in to deep listening in these conversations, and to really enjoy being in the conversation, and to really put the client first. And there have been plenty of sales conversations where I didn't make an offer, where I recommended someone else, or I made a lower cost offer, not a high cost offer.
Yeah.
So there's something for me around the connection between painting and sales. It's probably worth even digging into more for me personally, but that it was a turning point for me in letting go of outcomes. And when I was able to do that, my income skyrocketed.
Well, you think about that. I mean, well, first of all, thank you for sharing this, because this is really juicy information, because I think sometimes we go into entrepreneurship and we're like, oh, it's going to be an easy journey. And like, oh yeah, how hard can it be? And then you realize, and I said this the other day on a show, that, the best personal development is going and starting your own business, because
It's so true.
anything that you've been hiding from, anything that you've been avoiding, resisting, is going to come up at some level in your business, some level of your relationship. And if it's not in your business relationship, it's going to be in your personal matters. It's going to be in your, so everything gets we become like these, we're just so vulnerable on so many different levels, but it's such great work. And I feel like it's the work that we get to do to really, step into what our purpose and our passion and our, really our true calling in the world. Right.
Mhm.
So you say this beautifully in the sense that, you let go of the process, right?
Let go of the outcome.
Or I'm sorry, let go of the outcome and enjoy the
Mhm.
process. And I think if you look at that parallel to business ownership, that's for me, that's letting go of the how, right?
Yeah.
Of letting go of, what this is going to look like at the end. And, I have kind of a similar background. I have a counseling background, and I had, I got certified in art therapy as one of the modalities in expressive arts. And so we'd always say, like, it's not the end results that we're looking at, it's the process and that of who you're becoming. So I see that such parallels to that. And so
And so a big shout out and thank you to Megan Conter for connecting us, because there's
yeah,
a lot of parallels, and art therapy is a perfect analogy. And, so I do a lot of creative mentoring and helping women connect to their creativity, get unblocked and figure out what's stopping them. And the thing for me that I have to keep reminding people is, I'm not an art teacher. I'm not going to teach you techniques and tools. I'm going to teach you how to fall in love with the process and the journey, and to bring play back into our lives. Like, I think the thing that's missing
yes,
in
yes.
entrepreneurship is play,
Uh,
because it's hard work and we got to balance that out. That I remember my stepdad saying to me when I was a kid, right? All work and no play makes Jane a dull girl, right?
yeah.
And those old cliches are so true. And I realized that I am freely admitting I am a workaholic, a total overachiever. I am a lifelong learner. I love
This is my
working.
soul sister from another
Oh
mother,
man,
folks.
and I love what I do, and it's very easy for the hours and the days and the weeks and the months to go by, and I'm not quite
Yeah.
seeing the results that I want. And yet I find that my mantra for the last 2 years has been, the more I play, the more money I make. The more I play, the more money I
I
make.
love it.
The more
And
time off I take, the more money I make.
well, we're talking about the brain now. We're talking about opening and unleashing this, the right, hemisphere of the brain, which is all creativity. I mean, I think about innovation. I think about, possibility all lives, within that space. And we start to open that up and we start to peer inside. I feel like, and I'm right there with you. We have a craft room down in our basement. It's some days like today, it has seen better days. But we go down there, and it's always interesting because I've been teaching my daughter about, like experiment, like life's an experiment. And so she'll come down and she'll like, Mom, I was throwing something away the other day. And she's like, don't throw this away. It's like these little pieces of like plastic that I was using for something else, in this little craft project. And she's like, don't use those away. You know what I'm going to do? She's like, I'm going to dip those in paint and do it, and I was like, she's like, I'm going to experiment. Right. But I just think that,
Mhm.
like, when I'm looking back, I'm like, wow, I'm starting to have her start to think about stuff, how to use things in different ways. Right. And
Mhm.
so that, I believe, carries over into that kind of innovative, thinking outside the box kind of
It
mentality.
does. It does. And, so creativity as a concept is so fascinating to me. We
Hmm.
were, talking about that ahead of time. So when you think about creativity and innovation in the workplace, it's all about problem solving. And
Yeah.
it's not about beauty, which for me, so much of creativity is about personal self-expression. It's about curiosity and wonder. It's about creating beauty in the world. And I think that gets left out of corporate creative thinking. And it's one of the things I
Yeah.
love about design thinking processes, or bringing art therapy tools into innovative process,
Yeah.
because it's expansive. And I
Yeah.
don't even want to think outside the box. There is no box. What do you do when
Yes.
there's no box? What other constraints can we create for people? And my daughter's the same way. And boohoo, I'm officially an empty nester as of 2 weeks ago.
Congratulations.
It's a celebration and grieving all mixed up together.
Yeah.
But same thing, she would come into my studio and play or paint. I have so many canvases that she started, and it's just okay. It's okay for them to come in, to play, to experiment, to use the tools that are available, and not to make a total mess though. So
I hear
so
you.
yes,
That's why we
in
have
Mama's
carpet in
studio.
our downstairs that we
Yes.
don't care about. So we have,
Yes, well, in my studio too, because I'm the one who gets paint all over everything, not
yeah,
her.
yeah,
But again, it's about, and I watch my kids, and they have that same. It's all about the result, and I think it's the biggest wound and damage that we've created in people from the
yeah,
get-go. Every generation for the last, since the Industrial Revolution, that we've made it all about the result and
yeah,
not about the process. And when it's about the result, it also isn't about human connection. It's not about the people. And it's so important to pull all that back and look at, how can we make this, bring this back to pouring our hearts, our most authentic selves into what it is that we're creating, and then building relationships with the people who really need it. I just had an email conversation with one of my creative business coaching clients today. I don't know who my ideal client is. They get so frustrated. I'm like, just pick. It really doesn't matter. Just pick a
yeah,
place to start building relationships. Like,
yeah,
who are you passionate about showing up in service to? And we get so worked up in the details that we forget. And so my
yeah.
email back simply said, breathe, pick one, right? And
Well,
then
and
do
I
this.
think, and we forget about that tweaking process. I
Yes.
like to share, like, it's like a tweaking, like we can start somewhere, and then like we have all good intentions that that might be the place we end up. And then if we need to, if it doesn't work out and you're like, oh, that, no, that was a little off. Okay, let's go 10 degrees to the left, and then okay, that feels better. And okay, there's something still a little off, and let's move it another 10%, and we'll target like lunch. And it doesn't require much effort if we're willing to kind of go through that
Yeah.
process
Yes.
um, of exploring, and that process of, sometimes it's a process of elimination, and seeing that contrast of going, yes, this is what I like and this is what I don't like. And
Mm-hmm.
okay, and you're right, it is all about the process. And you're right, coming, like, I'm a type A, like, get stuff done kind of girl. Like, I think you and I are like seriously right there. But I agree. Like, I think sometimes we've been forced into, or told or shown or taught that this is the way it has to be, instead of
Mm-hmm.
allowing ourselves that creative space of, exploring and, kind of figuring things out, and allow them to come to us. Right. I think of, early on, I think of, oftentimes, if we have that creative ability early on, we utilize it, and people go into schools, and they have a specialty, right? But if we're not using it, we lose it, right? And I don't know if
Yeah.
that's something that. So what's your greatest advice or greatest tip on helping people tap back into?
Making time for creative play, and making it not be another project, because as entrepreneurial professional women raising kids, often we don't need more projects, right? We have a long list of projects. What we need is more play, more exploration, more process. And so setting aside as little as 10 minutes a day to just put color on paper.
Did I lose you? There you are. There you're back. Okay. Say that again, that last part.
Yep. Okay. Sorry. All of a sudden you froze up on me.
Yeah, same. You were frozen too.
I know. And I didn't get a notice that it was unstable or anything. More editing for you. Sorry about that.
Yeah, no worries. No worries.
So I think the best way there's two things about tapping back into our creativity. One is committing to practice a few times a week. And that means sitting down, just doodling like you and I were talking about before the interview, putting color on paper with markers, crayons, oil pastels, watercolor, and not having it be about making something. We don't need another project. We need playtime. And the second thing is to use what I call creative constraints. I have a 7-step system that I teach people to access their creativity. And the favorite one is constraints. Pick 2 supplies or pick a piece of paper and 3 colors. And because we can oftentimes get overwhelmed by the plethora of supplies in our art cabinet, we love buying all the supplies. But I've also had clients who got terrified walking into an art supply store. Where do you start? What do you pick? So you pick one thing, pick watercolors. And then today, paint with yellow. And so I think the more that we simplify the process, again, detach it from the outcome. We're not trying to draw Da Vinci style photos or be Picasso. The impact of a regular creative practice is that it's calming, it's soothing. For women, it's a form of meditation and mindfulness without actually having to sit still. But the more we give ourselves the opportunity to sit and just play creatively, for some people, it could be dance, gardening, cooking, but just allowing ourselves the time, which we don't ever do because we're busy women, but creating time to give voice to the things that make us feel good. That is creative expression. And I want to be really clear that I think we're all creative. And that for me, creativity is not about art. Art is one tiny expression of creativity.
Agreed.
Music, dance, writing. My husband's an incredible software engineer. He's a programmer. He's super creative at programming. Science is uber creative. Like how, it's amazing the experimentation and the level of creative thinking that happens in every industry. So if you're assuming that you're not creative, I will prove you wrong.
Yes, I love that. And I think you're right. Like using that muscle, I think it's like, it's using that creativity muscle. And my daughter and I, we started this little, I don't even know what you would call it, where we would take an object. I don't even have a random object right now with me. Oh, like this, like those that can't see it, but it's an eyeglass case, right? But it's cool because it folds down into like nothing. But we would say, okay, and go. And when we say go, that triggers both of us. And we're like, oh, what could it be? Well, if I hold it like this, it could be a cell phone. Like, and like we go through and then she says one, I say one, and we keep going back and forth and we keep using the device back and forth until we're like exhausted. And so sometimes it will go for like a half an hour. We're like, oh, it could be a boat float. It could be this, and it
That's
just
amazing.
is one of those things that it just becomes, because we're starting to see an object in a different way. Right. And so, sometimes I just feel like that helps us, especially in business, tying this back to business. Like everyone's like, how does this tie back to the business? Like it ties back in every single way, single way. But it also ties back to like when we get stuck in our business of making choices or having, a certain way, it's like, oh, my brain's already trained to start looking outside of that possibility. It's like, oh, you know what? It could be X, Y, and Z, So I think it's really fun to start like incorporating somehow, somewhere that creativity in our lives. And one of the other things that I like to do is license plates when you're driving. Yes. I will like come up with like acronyms or like sayings. It's like, I don't know. It's like HTY and it's like, oh, whatever it is. Like I'll come up with it, but it's coming up really fast with it. And it's just silly. It's silly stuff. It's nonsensical stuff.
But it's creative thinking and it stretches your brain outside the norm, which brings so much value back into your business because then you're never stuck. right?
Yeah,
You
and
never feel like you have a
and
lack
you're
of
literally doing it
ideation
while you're
happening.
driving at the stop sign, or your
Yes.
stoplight, and you're like just entertaining your brain.
Yeah.
So I love it. I love it. So this has been delightful. So how do people connect with you? How do they reach out to you and just fill up on your brilliance, if you will?
Well, thank you for asking. So the easiest way is to go to my website, which is just my name, MinetteRiordan.com. And I am a Facebook junkie. I'm also on Instagram, and everything is just my name, Minette Riordan. I had my aunt one time trying to find my phone number, and she looked me up online. She says, "You're really easy to find." I'm like, "Good." That's kind of
Yay!
the
That's
point.
kind of the point.
It
Yes.
is
Now saying
totally
it might be
the
a whole different other story.
yes, yeah, yeah. But yeah,
I love it. Well, this has been absolutely delightful. You are just a brilliant light. Thank you for
thank you.
bringing creativity. And I'm saying this because I just think that this is what um, we, the work that you're doing is such a gift. So thank you for being the light and sharing your gifts with the world.
Thanks. It makes me happy every day. Thanks
Awesome.
for having me.
Well, check out her website. And until then, thank you so much. I am so grateful that you joined me for this episode. If you've enjoyed this, then there's just one thing that I would like you to do. Click to subscribe and leave me a rating and review. As my way to thank you, let's connect for a free consultation. Just reach out to me at talkingwithteri, that's TERI.com, to book your time.